Welcome to selfdiscoveryradio.com, where the orchard of wisdom is just ready for picking. We celebrate your why, the journey that you've taken that inspires someone else. We support your services, we support your story. Come and be our guest, become a host, be an author with us. Come and see what we've got. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Choose Positive Living. I'm your host, Sara, and my guest today is Benson. Habits for a successful life. I think this is something we're all looking to have, isn't it? What is success? How do we develop good habits in order to achieve success? What is our attitude around it? Now, there was a particular posting that he had on his Facebook that really caught my eye. Our attitude is the lens which we see the world. And that's so very true, folks. Do we choose to see it in gratitude, in possibilities, in positivity? Or do we choose to see it in negativity or self-entitlement or victimization? There's so many things that we can choose to see through the lens, and it's up to us. So his self-help book for authentic living, Habits for Success, was written creatively, consciously, and with heart. Using his own growth process, triumphs, and hero's journey, he weaves authenticity, vulnerability into his habits, his ideas, and stories to entertain and inspire the reader. Inspiration is what it's all about, folks. Inspiration for invitation. So let's bring Brian on. Off come the glasses so we don't see any more flare. Now I can see. And let's dive into some good habits. Hello, Brian.
Hi, Sarah. How are you?
I'm doing great. Good topic here. Habits. We get into ruts, don't we? Habits that we're born with, that we're brought up with, that society dictates that we live in, religious and school, all this programming and this habits. How do we deprogram and develop better habits?
Some I think are easier than others to deprogram, but for me, I think it was just really learning how to trust and honor my intuition. And by doing that, it just it doesn't, some of the stuff that maybe I had let affect me prior just kind of went away because I felt like what was coming through me, was God's source, the universe, whatever you want to call it. But that's truth. That's not stuff that we're modeling because we were taught it or voids that we're trying to fill for the wrong reasons. I think it's where true fulfillment lies.
Yeah, 100% agree. And actually, we're promoting the word GUS, God, Universe, and Spirit. I have a show here with a beautiful reverend of 40 years who does the show, and it's the world according to GUS, God, Universe, and Spirit, because it's all that source, it's all that energy. It's our preference or choice to which we verbiage it, but really we're looking at the same thing. And I think what people forget, everybody's busy worshiping up there. They forget it's all in you. You're made out of the same material. And when you honor the inside out, when you learn to love yourself as you would your source, your God, your universe, you actually begin to understand what you're here for and who you are and what your possibilities are.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. And I think two things. One, I think probably, there's a lot of reasons why we, come here and learn and grow. But I think ultimately it's to really learn how to love and accept ourselves.
Yes.
But for me, that whole process started 10 years ago. I had been listening to my intuition a little bit prior to that. I think when I was doing triathlons in my 20s, when I was just in college. And I kind of followed some intuitive nudges into that, which was really led to a lot of wonderful experiences and kind of a lifestyle for me for a while, a healthy lifestyle. But ultimately, when I left my family business 10 years ago, that was a huge gnawing inside of me saying that, I felt like I was done growing there.
Yeah.
And I felt like I had this gift inside of me that wanted to come out, although I had no idea what it was. And I really honestly didn't know what I was going to do after I left. But I needed to initiate the process. And through, listening and stepping out of my comfort zone, all these kind of amazing little synchronistic events kind of kept lining up and kind of have placed me today where I am. And I'm doing stuff that I had no idea was inside of me, you know, just a few years ago. But it was just a knowing that I felt like I was supposed to follow. And I trusted it. And you know, it doesn't mean it was all easy. There was a lot
Oh
of
gosh, no.
roller coasters, a lot of tough stuff.
You wouldn't appreciate it if it was all easy. You wouldn't actually understand the real purpose for it, because
No.
it is through those difficult times we actually discover our strength, our tenacity, our tools, our skills.
Self-awareness. Yeah.
Our self-awareness, our self-love. Also, what is our instrument in life? And when we discover that instrument, now you, in all honesty, can play it in truth and join the orchestra of life. But
yes,
you know, that's
it's an ongoing process. Yeah,
it is. What you even knew about yourself yesterday is different to what you know about yourself today.
Absolutely. And for me, when you said self-discovery, that rang some bells, because I kept doing things that were brand new to me, but yet made me feel really alive and empowered. And it just kind of continued to give me confidence to keep moving forward, because I was honestly terrified to speak in front of people when my very first book came out. And that was a whole accidental occurrence in and of itself. But that was the thing that pointed me in this direction that I've been heading on ever since. And so I just kept having to step out of my comfort zone. But it was empowering. It was exciting. It was new. I started realizing I had some creative abilities that I had no idea were in there. And I'm just still letting it unfold.
Yes, which is what makes life exciting. I mean, by design, we're adventurous and inquisitive and exploratory creatures.
Yes.
And, you know, we're busy exploring out there, where really what the emphasis today is explore within. Because when you explore within and know what your connection is out there, up there, and all around here, that's actually when you can really discover really what your purpose is, what your passion is, you know, what you're really here to do. And then you discover one thing and you go, gosh, I didn't know I could do that. And the next thing you know, you're doing the tango and you go, I didn't know I could do that
right.
either.
Well, and yes, absolutely correct. And I think the more that we can learn about what's really fulfills us, the less weight that we carry of all the crap and all the heaviness and the things we feel like we should do and have been doing, even though we don't really enjoy them, or, you know, they're not really part of our story. But
the bad habits, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the reason why I chose that one saying of the attitude is our attitude over our habits, our life, our choices, you know, is really the first key, isn't it? You know, how are you actually going to even acknowledge that you have some bad habits, you need to change them, that there are better habits out there. And that comes in the attitude of willingness to be open and explore, not persecute yourself for what you have done.
Right.
You
just
didn't know any better.
Acknowledge.
Yes. You know, oh, you know, maybe that wasn't such a good path, but there is a choice to go down another path. Let me explore it. Right?
Yes, and you'll realize that the old path didn't feel very good, and it didn't give you energy. It didn't make you feel good about yourself. It just, you know what I mean? It kind of held you back. And so the more that you can branch out in a positive, intuitive way, I think it just starts to open doors and things feel a little easier.
It's being in touch with self. And that's you're the instrument that you're taking through with you all your life. It doesn't matter, you know, how far you run, you're always going to be with you.
Yes.
So you may as well like who you are and what you're doing, which means that you may have to do some investment in self to get to a point where you can look in the mirror and go, you know what, I really like who you are. I like who you've become and what you stand for. But we don't just set off that way, because there is that old conditioning, those old habits that we have to get rid of in order to insert some new ones.
Yeah, you know, and it's there's so many things that make it difficult for us. Just advertising, you know, they're always trying to tell us that we're not enough and that we need their product to be better or to be attractive or what have you.
Nothing can improve this, baby. Nothing.
That's right. Dang it.
And that's something we need to laugh at, isn't it?
Yeah, but ultimately it really comes down to just accepting who we are and what we have to work with.
Right.
And being thankful for the things that, you know, it may be a little hard initially to come up with some some things to be positive for and grateful for, but we all have a lot of them, believe me.
Yes. Yeah. The attitude of gratitude. I had a 9-year-old who'd written her first book, gratitude with a positive attitude. And it was just really simple. Every day she wrote an affirmation of what she was grateful for. And in the simplicity of that, it was, why are we not simply focusing on something to be grateful for, even in a bad day? Why do we have to overcomplicate things? When really, quite honestly, if we focus on what we're grateful for today, what really was good today, instead of all the things that happen negatively today, we'll be grateful for the fact that we had something good to focus on today.
Right. I mean, it sounds so easy in theory, but yet a lot of people, I think, get tripped up by maybe what's happened in the past and they focus on that. Or myself, the past, I don't even worry about it. I'm like either present or I'm thinking in the future. The future is what messes me up sometimes.
Yes.
Because I have a feeling I know where things are headed. And sometimes I'm not patient enough.
Yes.
And some of the things that I've launched projects-wise, I kind of think to myself, is this the thing that's going to kind of get me out further? And when it's an amazing thing and everything's perfect, but I don't allow it to kind of be what it's supposed to be. And I get knocked down for a little while.
Yep.
So for me, it's the future.
Yeah, I understand that, because I'm a visionary and I see things, and it's like, when I see it, well, let's just do it. But you
Same
know what?
here.
Right?
Yes.
But the thing is you were given the blueprint. You were given the vision of what to build. But no building is built in a day. Rome wasn't built in a day. And the whole point is the process of building it from the foundation up is part of the journey, and solidifying what that building will stand for, what that blueprint is really meant to come. I fully understand about being impatient. That was me, rushing into everything. And then I got tripped up all the time. And it's like, why? And it's because it's not meant to happen that way. Allow it to happen the way it is. There's the vision. There's nothing wrong with the vision.
Yeah.
But what that vision stands for is only going to be revealed if you slow down and take the journey and understand every part of the building.
Yeah, the main thing is just, I agree, is just to plant seeds. And some take longer to bloom than others.
Yes.
And but it doesn't make it any easier.
No, and that's where kind of techniques like breathing, any form of, whether it is
meditation,
yoga, meditation, going for a jog, walk in nature, art, singing, performing, it doesn't matter. What is it that slows you down, that gets you centered, back into connection to core, and puts you back on track? Because then the little saying to yourself, calm down, grasshopper, it's not time.
Yes. Hiking does that for me. It makes everything perfectly fine.
Well, I would imagine with someone like you that you have an awful lot of energy. So kind of just sitting still and being quiet, maybe not the thing to do. And people think that, meditation is everything is about cross-legged and harm. And they don't realize that meditation is in anything that you do. So if you're physically spending energy, it allows your equilibrium and your psyche balance to calm down and become more at one and centered. So being physical, but allowing the center to be calming is what one needs to do if that's who you are.
Yes, and absolutely. And looking back, when I was racing and training in triathlons, all those long bike rides and long runs I went on, those were just a form of meditation.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Focal focus. So, is that one of the successful habits? Focusing in. Not to a point where you're just, laser beam, but finding something that works for you that helps you focus in on what really needs to be done next.
Sure. I think I have one of there's like 48 chapters, and I apologize, I don't remember them all, but I think I have one called Go Within. And like you said, and I also have talked briefly about meditation, and so that they're different, but they're similar.
Yes.
And but I definitely, in the meditation one, talk about, there's so many different ways we can meditate. I mean, just what we've already talked about, or someone who's really into painting or arts and crafts, crossword puzzles. Yes. I mean, there's, doing it just a regular jigsaw puzzle. I mean, there's lots of ways.
It's being out of self, isn't it?
Exactly. Turning the brain off.
Yes. Now, would you say, especially as somebody who's an ideas person and sees things, wants to rush into it, is that the brain gets the picture, but the intellect of the heart, spirit, and soul, needs more information before, or more synchronicity of life happening before you can go further forward? That if you only listen to your head, that's when you get into trouble.
That's interesting. Yes. Um, when I get an idea, sometimes I'll have an idea, but it almost comes more from inside. So it's an intuitive knowing that I need to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just like all systems go. And a lot of times I'll just get downloads. Like it's not like I write every day, but when I do write, sometimes it just kind of pours through me and I can get a lot done in a short
Yes.
period of time, which has been nice to realize.
Yes.
But, oh gosh, I just lost my train of thought.
Well, that form is channeling, right?
Yes.
Channeling the information.
Yes. Okay. But the whole brain thing and turning it off, acting has been a really great teacher for me in a lot of ways. And I moved here to LA 5 years ago, just via my intuition to focus on the books and to experience acting. And so I started taking a lot of classes. And it not only helped me learn how to, I think, feel more publicly and allow myself to be vulnerable in front of others, but it also, gave me an education behind the camera. But also it taught me to really trust my intuition when connecting with somebody else while we're acting. And just because whenever I was in my head, it never worked out. Like in improv as well, like we'll have this thing where you just kind of go back and forth. Well, I had ideas how I wanted it to go, but if somebody gives me something else to work with, that's done.
Yeah.
I can't, it's really trusted, allowed me to really trust to just be present, listen, and receive, and just send back. So I guess ultimately what I'm saying is we do need our brains a little bit, but yet it causes me lots of issues, whether I'm thinking about, what I need to do next, because there's so many things I can potentially do, like, more projects, marketing. I mean, there's literally no end to what I can do to try to advance my situation. But also, for acting too, it's better to keep it tuned down.
in everything in life, whether you're acting or whether you're playing your own role in life, it's all about the beingness rather than the doingness. And if we're doing, like, you've got the acting hat on, I should be doing this, does this look all right? How about if I do that? Instead of just being the part, being the role that you've stepped into, bringing yourself into that role. And really what we're asking people to do in life is don't do in life, become in life what you want to be, be life, because that's really your role to play.
Yeah, and that's just being in the present moment.
Yes.
And I've gotten a lot better at it.
And again, it's a lot of people.
But we're going to go in and out of it. Even if you're a guru or you're a yogi, you're going to go in and out of it. I mean,
yes, absolutely. The thing is that there's the divine presence of us, but there's the human side of us, which is still thousands of years of entrenched of survival, right? Of fear, flight or fight, and that is so indoctrinated in our DNA that we're going to get those triggers. They're going to bring that out, and that's going to be a reaction to something.
Yeah.
That's when we need to stop and go look at, okay, is that just a habit? Or is this something I can reprogram into being aware that something's happening, but do I have to react the way I've always reacted? Is there a different way?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the more that we can be in the observer role of our own experience, and that's kind of just my newest book is just a culmination of the last 10 years of kind of paying attention to my own, quote, hero's journey, because, we're all going on them. But yeah, absolutely. It's that awareness, and the more self-awareness that we can accrue, we can tell, we can feel when we're pursuing something that's maybe a little more lower vibrational. It isn't really the right situation for us. We just elevate our honing skills, if that makes sense. And
But we talk a lot today, and the world is talking a lot today about frequency and vibration, and the hertz that we're meant to resonate at. 560 hertz is is a high vibration that we're meant to resonate on, and that is one where we can actually live in positivity and bring about self-love and exude that out, and it kind of gets rid of the negativities. And we're talking about raising our vibration, you know, raising our frequency, because when we step up into that frequency of self-love, of love of life, of love of each other, kindness and caring, we truly and utterly do make this world a better place for ourselves and everyone in it.
Yeah.
And so this in tuning in and turning your volume up, you know, is something that is actually essential not only to your life, but to your community and anyone that you have anything to do with.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I guess I don't really ever try to tell anybody what to do. I just try to lead by example and share what's worked for me and what hasn't worked for me, and just try to be, you know, I don't know, the use authentic is word is used a lot these days, but just try to be as authentic as I can be, because ultimately I think everybody wants to be their authentic version of themselves. And so the more people that can then head in that direction, it gives other people permission to do the same.
Yes, it's inspiration for invitation, isn't it?
Right. And it all starts with being, you know, vulnerability, honesty, communication. I mean, all those factors are really important. And so, you know, I'm an introverted person. I'm an outgoing introvert. So there's parts of me that doesn't want to always open up or share. Kind of, I want to keep some things private just for myself. So it's a little bit of a balancing act. And the further I've gone on this journey, the easier it has become to share a lot of my wounds and things that have been tough for me. But it's not as scary anymore. And, you know, I know that it's what I'm supposed to do. And it feels safe now.
But I think what it does, it brings a connection with the audience, because
it's,
you know, they look at you, good looking, energetic, must be successful, the actor, and that's the image they have of you, their perception, right? But they don't know the struggles,
right?
You know, the inner struggles, the outer struggles, to find out who you are, what your purpose is, to get rid of, you know, or face any of the demons along the life. And when you are willing to share them, they look at you and go, okay, he's more like me. You know, this is relatable. He's been through what I've been through. I went through something similar. Look where he is now. How did he get there? There's the inspiration. How do I get there? There's the invitation. So by being willing to be vulnerable, it used to be judgment and persecution.
Yeah.
And, you know, if those people are still around, you don't want to be around them anyway.
Right.
You know, it's the people that see you and go, really? And this is what you did for yourself to be who you are now? Right? That's where the inspiration really lies.
Absolutely. You know, and it's interesting, when I first wrote my first couple of books 8, 9, 10 years ago, by accident, some simple kind of little self-help books, I put a lot of pressure on myself to be perfect and almost pious, because here I was thinking that I'm writing self-help books and I needed to be that way. And, you know, I wouldn't share very much of the tough stuff early on. And, you know, it all happened the way it was supposed to.
Yes.
But I definitely look back and I tried to kind of manipulate how I was seen.
Yes.
On social media.
That's the vulnerability that we're scared of. And the thing is, I think the greatest gift you can give people is your vulnerability, interest. But also when you raise yourself to that elevation of that vibration of self-love, of, you know, your own boundary, your own aura of love, any form of negativity will not have the same impact because of where you're at. You know, it would be just people who do not yet understand, or most of the time people that do the criticism are people that are injured themselves and unwilling to see their own wounds. Yeah.
So it's very interesting. You know, I still get triggered every once in a while. I mean, I live in LA, and so we go out and you go drive anywhere and it's just like honk city and people are cutting in, and it's very competitive, and I get caught up in it sometimes. I mean, I'm totally aware of it, and, you know, I'm really much better than I used to be, but
you still just stop
energy out there. Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot of, you know, I live in an area where there's 15 million people.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I think it's also okay to have fun. Like I put on big dangly earrings today, and sometimes you just go and do something a little wacky and you know, a little outside of your comfort zone. Because I think getting into your comfort zone can be very dangerous. It's nice to be comfortable, but it, you know, stops your creativity and your exploration of life. But
Mm-hmm.
it's sometimes you just got to go and do something a little wild and goofy. But it's always remembering your boundaries, you know, of not sending yourself to a place you're going to regret, because you are aware now, right? So
Yes.
it's knowing,
Yes.
that may be tempting, but I'm not going down that road. I know where it goes.
Yeah. Well, for me, I definitely need to regain that, because I'm a kind of a, you know, silly, witty kind of person most of the time, and I got too serious early on, and so I'm trying to regain that part of me. And there's a part of me that's very driven too, and I do know where I'm headed, and so I have my pedal down a lot, and you know, I'm pretty good at staying in balance and exercising every day and meditation and stuff. But what you just mentioned a second ago, I would definitely be served by going out and having a little bit more fun. And I used to travel a lot and really live kind of in wonder. You know, I would
Yeah.
see things with new eyes a lot, and I've gotten a little complacent. And so,
It's
yeah,
dangerous complacency, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, yeah. You
Because
know,
you get stuck.
well, and there's a part of me that's probably a little bit unhappy too, because
Mm.
I'm not feeding
Yeah.
all of me.
Yes. Yes. And you know, there's the time to get into the Maserati, and there's another time to get into the little, you know, Volkswagen Jub and just chug along. You know, it reminds me of a time in Greece where I got into one of these little bubble cars,
Oh gosh.
you know, three-wheelers, and I took a turn which I thought was a road, and I ended up being on a dirt road going through the mountains as people are coming out the house, Yasu, Yasu, going by the army base, getting a lot bigger Yasus from there, and then just being told I took this kind of private army dirt road, which I didn't know. But it was, you know, the way people came out and kind of welcomed me, it was so endearing. And it's, you know, sometimes we've just got to go off on a different road, haven't we?
Yes, absolutely. And yes, it's there's such a fine line for me, because I have my intuitive thoughts and feelings about where things are heading, and they are, you know, but yet I have to be careful that I don't really hold on to that story so tightly
Yes.
that I don't allow myself to breathe and have fun. And, you
Right.
know, ultimately, I used to set goals, but now I just try to set intentions,
Yes.
because
Yes.
goals can be a little narrow. And I
Yes.
found that I had, you know, initially I thought it would just be via books, but then all these other, you know, acting and all these other creative children's books and short films that I put together, that was just another way to reach people. And
Yeah.
so I need to just keep the door wide open and not, you know, think too much precisely how things are going to happen. Because I think the last couple of years I've gotten that way.
Yeah. And you said the word, allow.
Yeah.
Right? Allow the intent to manifest.
Let go of control.
Don't dictate. Right? Because, you know, you may give the actor the lines. If the director dictates exactly how they've got to say them, you could be losing the real message.
Sure.
When the actor to connect to that message and becomes that message, that's when you get those golden moments, when that message sticks. You have to place in trust the allowing, right? The allowing it to happen. You've already given the blueprint up, right?
Yeah.
You already know the path that you want to go, where you want to go. That's the intention. This is the goal. This is what you would like to see happen on the way. And as they say, heaven says, get out of the way, right? And let us show you, right? And that's being in tuned every single day, in tunement to who you are right now. And another huge thing is paying attention to the little signs in life.
Yes. Yes. I feel like I'm pretty good at that. The part where I get tripped up is just the last couple of years, if things have gotten more stuff's been released and whatever, and good things are starting to happen, I've kind of tried to control it a little bit too much, and it doesn't bring me happiness.
No, no. And you know, part of those successful happiness habits is kind of letting go, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Placing trust in that flow of the divine, of source. It's given you the power, it's given you the vehicle, it's given you the ability.
Yeah.
right? It's giving you
Yeah.
the vision,
Yeah.
but now it's saying only through walking one step in front of the other are you going to realize how it needs to be shared.
Yeah. Yeah.
So our habits are something that we really do need to focus on, because we don't realize that our habits do dictate our life, how easy it is to go back to an old habit
Yeah.
rather than embrace this new one. We've got a new habit, I really like this. And then we find ourselves sliding. And it actually takes eight times, whether it's a habit or anything else you're doing, 8 times to do it before the brain will actually acknowledge it as a new program.
Wow.
So if you're stepping into a new habit, you really got to make a habit of doing it
Yeah.
over and
Yeah.
over again, right?
Yes. Well, I know for me, everything, I'm very routine oriented. Everything starts with a good night's sleep. And then, I'm able, when I wake up, it allows me to go to the gym, and I eat. Seemed like I'm a pretty healthy eater, but I just, when I'm feeling more vibrant, then it's just so much easier to do those things that keep me centered and in balance. And the more in balance we can be, the easier it is for us to listen to our intuition. The less craziness, less noise, the less we're able to live a more proactive life instead of a reactive life.
Yes. Oh gosh, do we need that?
Yeah.
We seem to be seeing an awful lot of reaction right now without thought. Without accountability. And this is something else we've got to actually understand, is our reactions, good or bad, we have to be accountable for.
Yeah.
And that's some ownership that we need to have. And the fact that, you get a good night's sleep and then you wake up and it's gym, you've got all this nervous energy, go and spend it, right?
It helps me relax into my day, because there's so many things I know that I need to do or would like to do.
Yes.
If I don't exercise, it just makes it even more heightened.
Yeah, exactly. And if you are that person with, high energy, where are you going to spend that energy? So it's spent so you can concentrate on what you need to do. And it's learning to honor yourself and what you need in order for you to be productive.
Yeah. Yeah. And it all just comes down to self-awareness.
Yes.
And self-love and self-acceptance.
Self-love. It's a hard one. We tell people love yourself. And because
right. You go love yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And some people do a little too much for the wrong reasons. What we're looking at is placing the importance upon you, but don't get it misconstrued with self-importance.
Yes, absolutely. It's just honoring and respecting who you are and how you want to be treated and how you want to show up in the world. And that has nothing to do with like narcissism or anything like that, or the other angle that you were going back, at. So it's a good thing, because, for us to really ultimately be successful and be able to connect with others in a positive way, we have to, it starts with us.
Yeah, it does. And what do you stand for? What's your dignity? How do you treat people? Because that's how they'll perceive you. That's how they'll interact with you. And, that dictates whether people want to do anything with you or not, right?
Yeah. Obviously, the whole law of attraction, you're going to receive what you put out. So
Yes.
Be ready either way.
If you're a jerk, you're going to get it back. If you're a person of integrity, people are going to want to know that. Of course, you've always got, the shysters, the people that, the leeches in life, and that's their burden to have. And we, even when you step into a higher vibration and you kind of got that aura of protection, it doesn't mean you're still not vulnerable to other people taking or exploiting it. And that comes back to that self-awareness and trusting that little inner voice. When that voice goes, you know what, something doesn't ring true here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've had to, being an introvert, it's kind of interesting too, because I get reached out to a little bit, in different ways via social media and stuff. And I've become pretty good, I think, at reading people's energies.
Yes. And that's key, reading people's energy. It's key.
Yeah.
It's It's the vibe beneath the words, isn't it?
Yeah, sometimes it's the words are really obvious, but I mean,
Yes.
yes, other times it's just like, just it's the vibes, it's the angle behind the words.
What's their real intent?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And, I mean, you're in a very precarious, world of acting, because it can be very shallow, but it also can bring out the deepest depths, of yourself, and the right role, the opportunity to really become something that other people are seeking. Do you choose roles with that in mind, or is it just kind of a challenge to play different parts?
Well, uh, a little bit of both. I mean, I've actually this last year, I've taken a little half a step back. I've still done a few commercials and a few other things, and I have a small part on a TV show that I work on occasionally. But for the most part, I've just been focusing on the book and kind of preparing myself to do more speaking, because there's a fear there still for me, and I know that I will enjoy it and that I
Yes.
need to do more of it. But to answer your question, there are some things that I will steer clear of. Violent stuff just doesn't really work for me. I mean, I have kind of an odd character that I have playing in this TV show, which started a couple of years ago, and I've had a lot of heavy scenes, and it was interesting because it was kind of cathartic for me to I had to go to some kind of dark places, and had a lot of emotion and stuff, and so it was interesting. It felt cathartic, but also it wore me out for a couple of days afterwards.
Yes.
Because I'm pretty even keel most of the time, and yeah, it just it was exhausting.
And actually, had you not done your own work on yourself, you probably wouldn't have been prepared for that. Even though it was exhausting, if in your own self-awareness, it didn't eat you up, which it might have had you not been doing the work beforehand.
Well, and had I not done the work beforehand, I might not even have been able to do it.
Right. Yeah.
And be vulnerable in front of the crew and stuff, But what's interesting? When I was in acting class, it was harder for me to let loose and be vulnerable in front of the 15 people that were there with me. But like when the camera goes on, I'll do anything. It's hard to explain.
No, I'm I'm a little bit like you when I get out in front of the public, speaking. I never read a speech. It's points that I have there, or I've read it a few times, and then when I get out there, I'm just organic. It just comes out, and I have to step into my zone in order to do it.
Yeah.
And then I don't remember a damn thing afterwards.
Well, that's funny with the book. I don't really either, because a lot of it was just kind of channeled through me. And so people ask me about, well, remind me, please, because I don't really.
You need to read your own book.
I do. I mean.
but that's the thing, is that is that divine channeling. So that means what you wrote down is what's needed to be heard, right?
Yeah.
And so, you allowed yourself to be that conduit. And because of the work that you've done, you were able to write it in a way that you could actually understand what it is you were writing, which is very important.
Thank you. Yeah, I tried to do 3 things in each chapter. I tried to write it, I wanted it to be inspiring, entertaining, and thought-provoking. And so I kind of maybe explained why a certain habit was a good idea, and I tried to do that in an interesting way, and then I shared a personal experience of mine or someone else's to kind of back it up. And then I sometimes would add something, whether it was a poem or something else that correlated with it, so you got it in different ways, different perspectives that all kind of came together for the same common idea.
But that's very important, because True Colors, Myers and Briggs, we have 4 key perspectives of the way we're going to see life. And there's that great little thing about lines. Somebody said there's only 3 lines. No, there's 4. So from one side you can see 4, another can only see 3. Both are right. It's just a different perspective. And if you're willing to hear other perspectives, other points of view, you'll get the whole picture. Your view is not the only view.
Yes.
So we have to be open to those other perspectives to actually understand the entirety of what we see.
Absolutely. Life's kind of interesting because we are all are connected and we have so many similar things that we're working on uh, together and, but yet we're also kind of journeying a little bit on our own and maybe have little tweaks that are something different from somebody else, but yet they're all intertwined. And so it's very interesting. Not every chapter is going to resonate with somebody because they might not be focusing on that right now, or it's not an issue for them.
But it also sounds like a book that you don't need to read it from cover to cover, that you can literally, what do I need to know today? Open up the book and it's that chapter that is speaking to you right now.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I love those kind of books. Is what do I need to know today? And then, okay, and it's always apropos. What you're reading is like, oh yeah, let's put me back on track. And that's that connection that you have. And so, those kind of books are really great because it's something you can have there, make it a daily type thing. You may not read the whole chapter. Maybe it's just something in the chapter that reminds you, okay, bring yourself back down to that, or propel yourself forward, whatever the case is, right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of, I think you're probably similar. Maybe we'll have a book for a year or two and all of a sudden it'll just kind of like catch our eye and we'll open it up and it's like, okay, I'm now ready to hear this.
Yes. And that actually is a huge point. It's the same with these shows here on Self-Discovery Radio, TV.com. I have an Orchard of Wisdom library ready for clicking. There's 2,000 collective shows here between myself and other hosts. Yeah. And it doesn't whether somebody was talking currently about that book or that event. There's information here that when you're ready to hear it, is ready to speak to you. Right? And that's what a good book does. It can be on that shelf for years. It could be somebody, I just read this book, I read that, I'm going to go back and reread it. And the whole thing, it doesn't die. The information in it doesn't die. And it will always come back to you when you're ready to receive the information.
Or I agree, or when we need a reminder.
Yeah. Yeah. Little kick in the butt.
Yeah.
Tap on the shoulder.
All right, we're getting a little negative, Brian, here. Let's
Yes, exactly. and as you said, it doesn't matter how much you raise your vibration, your elevation. If you get around negative people, they can pull you down. Situations can pull you down. And this is where you need the support. And you need something that kind of is a reminder to pull yourself out of that. Stop feeding that. This is the habit you need to feed. And that doesn't mean you're not paying attention to all the disasters and catastrophes and God knows what else is going on in the world.
Right.
But what you're not doing is feeding the hysteria. I call it the CNN effect. Take a pimple, make it into a volcanic eruption. Yeah. Right? You see it for what it is. Be concerned, send out the white light and the love and the care to those that need it. But stop feeding the hysteria, because once you get caught up in that spiral, it's so hard to get out.
It's exhausting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's fear and there's love, and that's fear.
Yes. Definitely playing on the fear, and that's how they gain control. Don't give up your control, folks. Be your own empowerment.
Yes.
And that means change your habits.
Yes.
Get more successful habits. So the book is out now.
Yes.
And show the book. There we go, folks. And of course, it's here on your show posting. For those that are listening by audio, come back to Choose Positive Living show, and you'll see all the posting there and everything. And we're at Christmas time too. And I've literally just done a show of my own where I've listed some of the books. I'm sorry we didn't get you beforehand. I'll add you to the posting.
Thank you.
And books, I think, are a wonderful gift. Because, whether you pick it up right there and then, or whether it's something you pick up later, or whether you skim through it, or whether you read it from cover to cover, whatever you're ready to do, a book will always give you something, that will change your perspective, lighten up your heart, open up your mind, and give you something that you can walk forward in life. So it's one of the best gifts you can give.
I agree. Not just because I'm a book writer.
You got to be a book reader to be a book writer.
That's right. Yes.
Yes. Who have been the people that have inspired you?
Wow, that's a great question. I think my father's been an inspiration for me, through the years. For the most part, he always I felt like did the right thing. He and my parents got divorced in high school, but there was a lot of love there for us, and there has been. And so I've looked to him,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Who else? I know. I think, there's been people through the years. I used to listen to some of Wayne Dyer's stuff, but I don't know. I think for me, it's just I get bits of inspiration almost daily in different ways, whether it's a video I see or a quote I read or a story I hear about. It's just yeah, because I've learned after I've met some people that I really put on pedestals. I don't
Yes.
do that anymore. That they're all human,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just we're all journeying and we're all trying to do the best we can, I suppose. And yeah, I just try to find things that kind of fit me where I'm at, and just give me a little bit of a boost, just to kind of raise my vibration and energy, and try to resend it out into the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's I interview ordinary people doing extraordinary things, because when it comes down to it, we're just ordinary people looking to make a difference in the world, in our own lives, be of service to humanity in whatever
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
And the extraordinary is when we're willing to take the journey and be that inspiration for other people. And I myself have interviewed people that when I first interviewed them, they were kind of starting off and the wonderful message and the real truth, and unfortunately started drinking too much of their own Kool-Aid and the
Yeah,
popularity and everything else. And then the
yeah.
words and who they are suddenly disconnected. And you
Well,
can
that's
feel it.
happened to me with some folks I've met, and so
Yeah.
it's kind of disappointing. But then I don't really, I don't know.
If you are going to be a person of public that's going to stand up there, I think one of the words to stay, to keep always in your mind and always in one of your habit practices, is stay humble. The gift that you're given, however large and big it may go, however much notoriety you get for it, always remember the responsibility of who you're serving,
Yeah.
and don't get caught up, because as as an actor and in Hollywood, how easy it is to step into that fake spotlight.
Ugh.
And where is the honest truth in that? It's momentary anyway. You have the flavor of the week, right?
It's hard for me to do things that
Mm-hmm.
aren't grounded and authentic.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's if you really have got a message out there, it's keeping it real by keeping yourself real.
I agree.
And
I
that's
agree.
not always easy, is it? I mean, this is why you do need those habits, entrenched in you, to remind you, to keep you grounded, to keep you on track. You do need to know what they are. And if you're looking for success in life, which we all are, we all want to
Sure.
be successful in what we're doing. We want to know we count. We
Yeah.
want to know our contribution at the table of life is feeding people.
Yeah.
And so we want validation along the way that, yes, you're being received. It is making a difference, because that's the reason why we do it. That's the human side of us that needs to have that recognition.
Yeah.
But it's always remembering in our habits of that humbleness, the reason why you're doing it, and that you never know it all, because every day there's something
Oh,
else to learn.
God. No, that's for sure. It's interesting. It's almost, I feel like I will always be able to be that way. But for me, it's almost like I need to be a little less that way, because I think I've had to work very hard on my own self-acceptance and self-worthiness. And so
Mm-hmm.
there's part of me that feels like what I'm saying is just common knowledge and everybody already knows it. And so it's kind of hard for me to put myself out there in different ways. And I
Mm-hmm.
see some people marketing and it doesn't feel that authentic. And so
Yes.
I'm not sure how to do it. I feel like my stuff's good, but yet I don't want to come across like that. So it's,
You don't want to be a salesman. You want,
no, not at
yeah,
all. And so
you
I'm
want to
still
be the
trying to,
inspirer. Yeah.
but yet I do want to and need to monetize what I'm
Right. Of
doing,
course.
because so I can do it a lot more
Yeah.
neat stuff. So there's that. For me, I'm in this place right now where I'm trying to learn how to receive, because I'm a giver,
Yes.
and let that whole circle flow. And
And I will tell you, after 64 years of having to learn that one, it's a hard one when you're a giver. And one of the things that was said to me, but if somebody is trying to give you something, it's their gift to give. it's not for you to refuse.
Yeah.
Because that's their role.
Yeah.
You're a giver. If somebody refuses your gift, you feel a little upset, right? So if you're refusing somebody else's help, you're doing the same to them.
Right.
And that took a while for me to get to. And since I have allowed myself open up to receive the gifts of wisdom from other people, it's taken a huge burden off myself of having to make all the decisions, because I can have all these decisions on a plate, and then talking to various people, I can filter out, no, that one, it's a good idea, but not for me, not for me. This is where I need to be.
Yeah.
And that's the gift of clarity that people have given me, the gift of support, the gift of camaraderie.
Yeah.
And that, when we step into that zone and be that for other people, the monetary will follow.
Yeah. 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 You're absolutely right. And I know, I know it will, and I'm not doing it for the money.
Right.
But I know that it will feel good to earn, it feels like it's one of my lessons.
Yes. Yes. I'm
And
there right now. It's a little lesson.
Yeah. And that's the lesson of being able to receive, and just also really, just.
It's an exchange of energy.
Yeah.
But for you giving your wisdom to other people, the exchange of the energy is currency.
Yeah.
All right. Because as a human being, we've still got to maintain ourselves. Right. So if we don't look at it as money and go, am I worth that dollar? But just look at it as a currency of energy. Right.
Yeah.
Then we're actually looking at, being able to receive it in a way where we don't feel the dollar sign. But we feel,
or put the pressure on myself to fix somebody.
Yes. Oh God. Yes.
Because I take that on. I have taken that on, not so much anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's impossible. That's a weight that you can never undo.
You can't help people who are unwilling to help themselves.
No, we can just point them and be supportive, but and walk side by side. But that's really it.
Yes, yes. This is the thing about being an inspiration, though, because when you are vulnerable and you share your journey and you share your how, and you share your skills and your tools, you are now putting in their backpack of life the knowledge they need, the awareness they need to walk their journey. And if you let them know, I'm still there anytime you need that support or you need another tool. Can't walk it for you. That's your journey of life.
Yeah.
But I am there. But that's what we need to take with us in life. A little inspiration here, a little inspiration there, this tool, that skill, that approach to life, and we put it in our backpack, and when we need it, that's where the slowing down comes from. You know what? Before I take another step, I need to sit down and review. What knowledge do I need to know right now for this next path, for this next road in life? All the wisdom you need is there with people like yourself, right? But if we're not willing to apply it, how are we ever going to walk forward in the light that we're meant to walk forward in?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think a lot of that, maybe not accepting the information or whatever, it's just the love and acceptance isn't there.
Yes.
And they have to start there, and then it's easier for that to come in.
Yeah. Yeah, because the journey to self-love is the first journey, right? And that means you've got to be willing to look at your wounds, and you've got to be willing to open up to your vulnerability, because that's a way of releasing it. That's a way of no longer being a victim of it. It doesn't mean you forget it. It doesn't mean you can't talk about it. It means that you're letting go of the pain associated with it. Mm-hmm. Because without those wounds, without that pain, you wouldn't be who you are today.
Yeah.
Right? But it's just detaching the pain with it. All the blame, all the shame, or any of the other stuff that goes with that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that when you do, though, it really feels good, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, just an acceptance of even being fearful about something. If you can just voice that, it just kind of starts to, if you shine light on your fears, they start to dissipate a little bit.
Now, what is fears? Most of the time it's feeling insecure or of the unknown. And if you shine a light on it, you're exposing it.
Yeah.
And now you're getting the real thing. Is there something really to be afraid of?
Yeah.
Or you're just afraid of fear itself.
Yeah.
So, we definitely need to walk forward in life unafraid, but aware definitely tuned in, because the little voice and the little feelings will always guide you. Please don't put yourself in fifth gear. That's the time to slow down into the first and second gear and go, okay, what's the message? You know, you could be driving straight off a cliff and you don't know it. Slow down.
Yep.
Well, you're going on tour now with this book. You're doing the circuit.
I'm going to, I've been doing some podcasts and radio interviews. I think my publisher is going to set up some book signings and book talks along the West Coast in January and February. So we're kind of getting that set up.
Excellent time, January, you know, the new habits to be formed. So really a good timing for that. And especially if people have bought the book before Christmas, they can have a look at it before they go to the talk and then ask you the questions, which will be great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So for people to buy this book as a Christmas gift, and you know, maybe they can put it in their own stocking if they feel they need it, or, you know, the family book where they can all go through it, a book club where everybody can discuss it and support one another. These are the kind of books that are meant to be read and discussed and shared, because again, going back to that perspective, well, this is what I got of it, or this is how I saw it. Again, the whole picture. So book club book, it would be excellent for. So how do people get hold of the book?
Yeah, they can find it on Amazon via the link habitsforsuccessbook.com. And they can also find it via my website, which is gbrianbenson.com. gbrianbenson.com. G. Brian Benson. I go by my middle name. Yep.
Not the G. Drop the G.
Well, yeah. I have my parents to blame for that one. But yeah.
Okay. And Facebook, Twitter,
Instagram. Yeah, everything. If you just kind of go to any of those and just G. Brian Benson, you should find me.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
What TV roles to look out for you in?
Well, there's a show called Sangre Negra, meaning black blood in Spanish, and it's a very diverse cast. Eric Estrada, who used to be in the show Chips, is in it, and Eric Roberts and some other people that you might have recognized.
Yes.
But they're, I think, in the process of finishing the first season, so it hasn't been aired yet, and I'm not sure where it's going to find a home.
Right.
So,
yes. Yeah. Well, you know, nowadays there's so many other places like Amazon and everything else.
So
you know,
many cable channels. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yes, and I am a Netflixer, so yeah. Watching things without commercials. Yay!
I agree.
And so the book is in the tour there, but also your other books, are they still available?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can find those on Amazon or on my website. All my books, and there's some short films and my TEDx talk, all that stuff's on my website. There's some fun videos. I'm starting to do some spoken word pieces on some of my poems, and that's been fun. Yeah, it's all on the website.
Great. And you know, what I love about your vulnerability here today, you haven't come on saying you know it all. You know, you're coming on saying that you're sharing your discovery. You're sharing you're unraveling your own onion, and you're sharing the layers as you go, right? Instead of saying I'm at the core and this is what you must do. You know, it's
I run from people like that.
Me too.
It's still unfolding what's going on in my world. So
yes, and anybody, you know, with, you know, I'm in my 60s and 70s, 80s and 90s that are still in discovery would tell you it would take so many lifetimes to know anything. You know, it's you know, I've got
all I know is that I don't know.
Yeah. Or this is what I say: when we open up our divine soul intuition that then resonates with the heart, it speaks to the spirit in action, and the mind will know what it needs to know when it needs to know it. And if we understand that this is a database up there, and we can extract that knowledge anytime and understanding when we ignite the soul, heart, and spirit, then we're in a state of knowingness, right? And we know what to do with the knowledge. The thing is, great having knowledge, but if you don't have the wisdom to actually understand the knowledge, what is the knowledge?
Yeah.
So you're gathering your wisdom along the way to understand the knowledge you're given, which you're sharing.
I'm doing my best. Thank you.
And that's, you know, the beautiful vulnerability of it, and just saying, I'm on this journey and I'm sharing it. I'm not waiting until the end to share it. I'm sharing it as I go. Right? And your next book may be totally different.
Absolutely.
On a totally different lesson. But you're not waiting until you're old and everything. It's here I am now in my vulnerability. And that's what's really great. So thank you for being vulnerable enough to share it without being the master of it. You've let the wisdom be the master.
Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So folks, remember, it is gbrianbenson.com.
Yes.
And all of the books and all the social media are all on the same.
Yep.
And the book, Christmas, get it now, Amazon, it's not too late. Right?
No, it's not.
the book club, the gift to someone you know that needs to change some habits, some people who just are at that turning point in life. And maybe even as a family book, that no matter what the age of your children is, it's something you can discuss. Everybody read a chapter, get around the table, discuss it. Yeah. We all need the help. And somebody else's perspective opens up our own, which is very important. Thanks so much for being with us here today, Brian.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And to everyone else out there, remember, ho, 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 Christmas is the time of giving, of receiving, of sharing, of being, and definitely of loving. And this book is a very loving gift to give. But also remember, don't forget to give the gift of your time and of yourself. And remember to breathe, very important. Until next time, folks, bye for now.
Take care.
For more wonderful shows like this, please go to selfdiscoveryradio.com, podcasts, and see our lineup. And if you wish to support us, we have a funded button. Please stay tuned for our next show.